again, why we are quoting Misra here again? Because he is only brave man in the Indian media who is constantly, and he has the guts, he has the contacts, and he is a local, secular, hardcore Indian.
And a very known investigative
journalist. He's written so many books, very well acclaimed. Now, every week, he writes a new article exposing more information that comes to him, because there's so many sources he's getting his information from. Of course, he's not getting his information from ISI, but he's getting from his own Indian sources. Now, he says, very interestingly, that it was later discovered that the telephone SIMs, the telephone cards, chips which were being used,
so-called terrorists used.
So-called terrorists who were using them were actually provided by the undercover Indian intelligence officers. And his article, and it written on 19th of December, Misra says, was the Mumbai attack a contractual terrorist operation?
Yep.
And he says, one of the two Indian men arrested for allegedly buying mobile phone cards used by the gunman was a counter-insurgency police officer who may have been on an undercover duty. Now, another, he says, senior police officer in Indian Kashmir, which has been at the heart of the tensions between India and Pakistan, demands that the release of the officer Mukhtar Ahmed, saying that he was their own and had been involved in infiltrating Kashmiri militant groups. Primarily, it is the implication of Ahmed's involvement that Indian agents may have been in touch with the militants and perhaps supplied the SIM cards as well. It is categorically proven now that the people who supplied the telephones and the SIM cards to the terrorists work for the Indian intelligence. They were undercover officers. They knew all along each and everything which was happening. It was not a surprise attack.
Basically,
it was not a surprise operation
they were the people who scripted this whole...
They scripted the whole thing. They wrote the whole thing. They orchestrated it. But as we said, idiots as they are, they goofed up big time. They messed it up completely. There's so many trails, so many... The entire trail, so many fingerprints they left around, that even their own media, even their own officers, their own investigating team, and remember one thing as well, that Indian police, from the team of ATS Kurkure, from the team of the police officer, were on the tails, were on the heels of those terrorists, trying to find out who killed their boss. And naturally, they have also come up with so much of information which Misra has, and he has written. And it's worth reading his articles, actually.
Arif Chaudhry acknowledged that he was a Pakistani in his statement.
Yes, this is very interesting because a few years back, there was an attack on Indian Red Fort in Delhi. And again, that attack, just like the attack on Samjhauta Express, was blamed on Pakistan. Nobody knew what happened after that because few people were caught and nobody knew because Indians hushed up the investigations. Why did they hush up the investigations? Because the man who was caught, the statements that he gave were so damning against the Indian intelligence, and Misra quotes them, Misra writes to them, and I quote. And one of the Indian website, Tehelka, is a very famous website because they are known for, Tehelka means creating a storm. I mean, they are famous for creating storms. They have really exposed scandals within the Indian society and system. And Tehelka writes about the Red Fort incident. Arif, that's the man of the terrorist supposedly caught. Arif candidly acknowledged that he was a Pakistani in his statement under section so-and-so, but he also explained in detail the circumstances under which he came to India. Arif claimed that he was an operative for RAW, Indian's external intelligence agency. His statement reads, I used to work for the X-branch of RAW since 1997. This is the most damning statement against RAW. They had hired a Pakistani to act as a terrorist to create a justification that Pakistanis are involved in terrorism in India. And that is why Tehelka exposed it, Misra writes it, and we present it today, categorically suggesting the Red Fort operation was also a covert operation by RAW to rope Pakistan in, creating a justification that Pakistan's ISI and Pakistan security establishments are terrorist organizations. Again, their own sources exposing them. And that is why you find no investigation of the Red Fort case. You find absolutely nothing coming out of the Samjhauta Express case also. And in fact, because there are dozens of Pakistanis, almost 100 Pakistanis were killed and wounded, burnt alive in fact, when the doors of the train were closed and explosives were put inside by Colonel Prohit, the man arrested by Kurkure. And these terrorist acts were all blamed on Pakistan.
Imagine those doors were closed.
They locked the doors.
They locked the door from outside.
And then they burned those people alive.
Can you imagine?
Burning people alive is the favorite hobby of Indian hardcore Zionists, of Modi, of RSS, of Bajrang Dal, of Shiv Sena, and Bal Thackeray.
Because they burn the dead bodies as well. So
because they burn the dead bodies, so they burn Muslims alive. And this is the mentality of them. And this is what the RAW has been doing. Red Fort operation was a black op, false flag operation. The Samjhauta was a false flag operation. Mumbai was a false flag operation. Everything is exposed now from their own sources.
Now we'll be talking about, they say that listen to the terrorists is this language of a Pakistani from Punjab or an Indian
You see, what
from South
the
India.
Indians have done is that they have dug their own grave. In their overexcitement,
Excuse me, yeah.
in their overexcitement, they recorded this entire conversation, let it run live. The conversation between a terrorist and an Indian anchor. It was allowed to run
They're just
live.
trying to create hype or something like that?
Yes, they were trying to, because they thought in the heat of the moment they'll create enough hype against Pakistan, and then their plan was to create a global justification for a preemptive strike on Pakistan, which they tried. But since Pakistan Armed Forces and Pakistan Air Force became alert, the Indian Air Force did come. They did try to cross the borders, but they were engaged by Pakistani Air Force, and they had to go back. But Indians tried to create a global justification for a preemptive strike on Pakistan under the pretext that Pakistanis were involved. Again, as we said, right now, they're extremely offended and upset that they have lost the advantage of surprise. They have not been able to generate global support against Pakistan for their cause. And the Pakistani armed forces are fully deployed. So Indians have now, if they attack Pakistan, they'll have to suffer 100 times more losses than which they could have taken the advantage of immediately after the Mumbai blast. So they've, again, here also they've goofed up big time, missed an opportunity for which they're kicking themselves now. And here, they would kick themselves more by putting this entire interview on YouTube. And we have given a link in our dossier here, and we'll suggest and we'll recommend our viewers to go to our website, find this link, watch this, and listen to the language. And anybody who understands Hindi and Urdu would find it hilarious. You see the entire thing in perspective. Before the Mumbai blast, 2 weeks before that, a series of articles were coming in the press, and we are going to read those few articles here. Everything was bombshelled for the Hindu fascists, because it was exposing
They were just creating a feel, you know?
And entire India was up in arms.